Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Five Borough Institute and at Citizens Union, welcome and thank you for being here today. Today's room is full of leaders who know our economy and the future of our city hinges on whether families can find and afford high-quality childcare. And we are very lucky that Governor Hochul understands just how pressing a concern this is. Under her leadership, the state made a historic multi-year commitment, $7 billion over 4 years, to expand access to free and subsidized childcare to thousands more New Yorkers. And now she's building on that commitment she first laid out in her State of the State last year, and says she believes we can actually get to universal childcare in New York in the near future. Governor Hochul, we are here to help, and thank you so much for your leadership on this.
Thank you, Tom. Tom is the founder of Five Borough and our board chair. Governor Hochul, we are so honored to have Governor Hochul here with us today as New York's first woman governor, first mother to lead our state. We know that she gets it, and together I'm confident that we collectively can make a big difference, not just in the lives of young families and children, but in the growth of our economy and civic life. So it is now my pleasure. I'm thrilled to welcome Governor Hochul from the great state of New York. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, who doesn't love Etsy? I'm sitting in the car and my staff says, oh, I'm waiting for something to be delivered today. So maybe they have it here. That's not how it works. I actually know that. But I've toured this incredible place, and it's just a place where visionaries gather, and led by an extraordinary leader. Josh, I love the fact that not only have you innovated a whole new way of creating products and giving people at home many times the ability to bring in more income from themselves, which I know is important to you, but also just to give people that sense of a creative spirit out there and creating so many thousands of jobs. It's extraordinary. But also to be so forward thinking that you're not just like, well, this is my workplace. I go home at the end of the day and I'm good. You're also thinking about the larger pictures and the larger challenges that society's meeting. So it is leaders like you and others in this room who I believe are the key to the solution to the child care crisis, something I know a little bit about. And Tom Allen, thank you for being the leader of Five Borough. I think it's an extraordinary organization that helps focus on policies that matter to the larger group, the entire ecosystem of New York City, which is wildly complicated, but I figured it out. I have finally figured it out. You just got to walk with a lot of swagger, right? Like you own the place. Yeah, nobody messes with you when you do that. So that's how I operate. But I also think about the fact that I'm probably a poster child for the child care crisis. All I wanted to do when I was younger, probably about 13 or 14 years old, when they asked you what you want to be when you grow up. And my parents used to live in a trailer park, and we had nothing growing up for a long time. And but I had this vision. I love government studies in school, and I decided someday I'm going to work in Capitol Hill. I'm going to work in that white building, and I'm going to be so good. I'm going to be a staffer to a senator someday. And that's as high as my ambition went. I've been making it up ever since then, because I was able to achieve that at the age of 28. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan hired me as his counsel in Washington. I loved my job. I'd been waiting my whole life for this job. But I also was newly married, little baby comes along, and what does that do to my career aspirations? And I'm looking around Washington, this is quite a few years ago, where's the help? I had no family in the area. There were very few child care centers. The wait lists were phenomenally long, and I just didn't have any options. And so I had to walk away from that job that I cherished. And Senator Moynihan said, come back someday, come back anytime. But I didn't. I wasn't able to. And of course, what that does to your family when the mom has to stay home or the parent has to stay home. Like my husband was working for the government. I was working for the government. So we weren't exactly, big time rollers in the money here. But we were both passionate about public service. And then all of a sudden, my income is gone. So believe me, I knew all about having to go out to the big box stores and get lots of discount diapers and paper towels and formula. So I lived that life. So when people are talking about the crisis today, and my own kids now have kids, the ones who were born at that time, It's real. I mean, it's not something in a textbook you read about. I mean, almost every family is struggling with this. And sometimes they have to put their dreams on hold, or maybe they can't even do that. They have to just figure it all out. And I've always thought that families shouldn't have to figure this out on their own. And I think when I was growing up, it was like, well, you chose to have kids. I mean, it's your decision, so you figure it out. But I love the fact that we have employers who are finally enlightened to actually not just the societal, but the economic benefits of addressing families and their needs. Because we want people to be here. We love the fact that this is a magnet. The number one destination for college grads right now is not Silicon Valley. It is not out in Dallas, Texas, or out in Salt Lake City, or certainly not Florida. That's another topic. But it's New York City. So they want to be here because this is a very cool, hot place to be. We know that. Well, it's kind of cool and hot, figured out. But listen, if we don't do certain things like provide housing, another topic, Tom, we'll talk about my efforts on housing in the 5 boroughs. If we don't provide housing that's affordable, and we don't give people safe streets and a good quality of life, and we don't figure out a way that people can take care of childcare, then we will lose the younger generation. We'll get the really young ones, but when the ones who are having a family, we're losing them. We're going to lose them. And that's the talent that I do not want to see walk out the door because we didn't have the ambition or the ability to solve this problem. So, Josh, I'm looking forward to seeing the white paper. I don't care what paper it's on. I need to see this. I need to see this and figure out, as you mentioned, the federal, state, local, and private sector solution to this. And that's what's required here. And so I realized when you're living in a city where the average cost of childcare ranges from $26,000 to about $41,000 a year, you live in a neighborhood and the childcare options are $41,000 a year and you're making $45,000 yourself or $35,000 yourself, it does not work out. It is just not going to work for you. So I decided when I first became governor 4 years ago that I was going to invest heavily in childcare. No other governor before me even talked about it. And we took $7 billion over 4 years. And what we had to do was to build up the entire childcare ecosystem because it was decimated during the pandemic. Decimated. So many facilities were shut down. They didn't make it. They didn't even survive once the pandemic was over. They lost their childcare workers. People went into other professions. It was decimated. And you know who was feeling that? Business leaders. I had business roundtables, and I'd have these chief executive officers, mostly male, saying, we got a real problem. What's the problem? The women aren't coming back to work. Well, why do you think that is? Well, they're home with the kids. I said, what are you doing about that? What have you figured out here? Have you made any accommodations? Are you helping subsidize? Are you finding some extra space in your building, especially those in the suburbs? Are you finding space to put in a child care center? Like, what are you doing to help facilitate this? Because it is having an effect on your bottom line. You're losing your well-trained, dedicated workers. So I saw this as a challenge, but I knew the first thing I had to do was start building more facilities. And so we've invested actually this past year, another $150 million to build more child care centers, to help people renovate their homes. If it's a home child care center, if it's on a college campus, we had them on all the SUNY campuses, trying to get them on all the CUNY campuses so students and professors and teachers can have access to this. But we had to build the ecosystem there. So also workforce retention. We have to pay people better. I mean, these are some of the lowest paid jobs in society and the most important jobs we have in society. It doesn't work. So for us to attract people who can be making $20 an hour working at McDonald's to want to go take care of somebody's children, we have to make it worth their while. So we put $500 million toward workforce retention and training and to up the game of being a child care provider. So we had to do that. We also created a child-sponsored child care program. We split the cost with employers. And a lot of employers have not taken us up on this. I'm going to encourage you to take a look at this again. I was disappointed in how few employers were looking at this. But we can't go it alone. I mean, universal child care is not something I thought of overnight. I had thought about it for years and announced in my State of the State address last year that we can get to this place. But I'm also going to tell you this. It is about $14-15 billion a year to do statewide. Universal, everybody covered statewide is about $15 billion. You know how much I have in my state reserves right now for a rainy day? $14 billion. I can't wipe that out. And I'll also say we are facing the fact that as much as we want to be supportive of all programs, and we will be supportive of this, I also had to plug a lot of holes from Washington. I didn't expect this time last year I'd have to find $3 billion to stop people from losing Medicaid. We're going to have to figure all this out. There's so many financial challenges, all the money that Washington is holding back from us. And by the way, we have a president who just said, if a certain individual gets elected mayor, I'm withholding everything. It's like, believe me, I'll be taking that one on head. We'll be taking that fight on as well. So these are some of the headwinds. I'm just trying to give you a reality check here. I can't just write a check and cover this cost. But I've talked to Zora Mandami and others who are thoughtful and want to see a path forward, and we will get on a path forward. We absolutely will. We just have to do it over the right time frame with the right amount of money, and I can know that if we have the desire, because I have the desire, we will get to that place. But what does the business community do in the meantime? As I said, I have no trouble going anywhere, shaming business leaders. And I love business leaders, but I was asked to go speak at Women's History Day up at a very large facility in the North Country, about 3,000 employees in a technology space. And they said, I looked down the room, I was like, there's almost no women in this room. Like, you have 3,000 workers and these are good paying jobs and I don't see any women. I said, the CEO said, well, what do you think we should do? I said, where's your child care center? He's like, what do you mean, child care center? I said, I guarantee you'll be the most desirable place to work in this entire region. People be knocking down the doors, men and women, if you offered child care on site. Think about it. And you know what? We talked about it in that facility, and the next big one that came along, Micron. Have you heard of Micron coming to New York? Julie Samuels knows. She's here, I think. Okay. My technology friends, Micron's coming. We worked hard to land that. That's 50,000 jobs in upstate New York that were going to Texas, and we brought them back. $100 billion investment. But you know what I said to them? We'll give you some help from the state, but you have to abide by the values we have in New York. First of all, it's going to be all sustainable, clean energy. You're going to do workforce development programs in the city where the jobs are harder to find. You're going to recruit from that area, and you're going to build a child care facility on site. Guess what? They're building that child care facility on site as we speak. I've toured it. So that's where I think the business community can step up as well. And I know the challenges we have. People talk about restrictive zoning. We have restrictive zoning that doesn't allow for beyond first floor child care centers. Now, I'm going to ask our city council to take a look at that again. Because think about it. Most of these kids, they live in night shift buildings. They're living in high-rise buildings likely anyhow, a lot of them in the city. And is this really a barrier we need to keep in place? That is the one reason we're having a real problem here. It really is. I think we can break through that. I think if I don't add more capacity, if we don't add more capacity, more spaces, you can say to everybody, universal child care, you're covered. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a space for the next 7 years. Then we're failing. Then we're failing at what we have to do. This is where the vision has to be all-encompassing. Just like I did with housing. I had too many vacant commercial office buildings. Guess what? We changed the law in the city that allows them to convert to residential. What a crazy idea. Why did no one think of it before? But now we're having many conversions. Let's look at this the same way. Is this really a smart policy that needs to be in place right now? Because I view that as restricting. It's restricting our ability to build capacity for child care facilities, which are going to stop our ability to provide real universal child care. So that's the collective thinking I want to go on. And let's take on that challenge. And the business community will be a great partner for us because it is in the business community's interest to have a workforce that is dedicated to you because you're understanding that this brief moment in an employee's lifespan, just those years from birth till they hit school age or preschool age, that's the time that you invest in them. You take care of them. You let them know they're valued. They're not going to walk out the door. They're not going to walk out there. That's how you build lifers. That's how people want to stay with you and use their talents. And I know the cost of a continual recruitment of new employees to replace other ones. You can keep them with you if you understand this time in their lives where they just need a little extra help. We have the capacity to do that. I have the desire to do that. And I know the people in this room know how to make stuff happen. So let's commit to that as you continue on your conversations. And you know I'm there. I'm already having conversations with the likely next mayor exactly about how to do that. And I think we'll be making some more announcements in January in our State of the State about what that path looks like. But I thank everyone for caring enough to be sitting in this room today. And again, thank you to Etsy for again, just being so forward-thinking and progressive in your values and your thoughts. And those are the kind of thinkers that we need to help us solve this crisis at this time. Will be a nation-leading opportunity to show what business, the private sector, as well as academia has a role, in my opinion. They should be training more childcare workers, professionalizing it, and government, because I'm there. Thank you very much, everybody.